The antiseptic smell of St. Jude's private wing didn't smell like healing to me. It smelled like the cold, hard currency of human suffering. I was the lead biomedical engineer, the man responsible for the beating heart of the hospital's most expensive machinery, the million-dollar MRI units and the delicate surgical robots that the surgeons used like holy relics. At the top of the food chain sat Marcus Sterling, a CEO who looked at a patient's pulse and saw a dividend. Marcus was the quintessential American villain. A man with teeth too white, suits too expensive, and a soul that had been liquidated for a corner office in a glass tower. To Marcus, I was a line item, a necessary but annoying expense in his quest for a record-breaking quarterly bonus. He treated the nursing staff like disposable labor and the engineers like mechanics at a cheap garage, oblivious to the fact that the only reason his hospital didn't crumble into a heap of lawsuits was the meticulous care we put into the hardware. I spent 7 years in the basement levels, working 36-hour shifts during hurricanes and maintenance blackouts, ensuring that the technology never failed. I knew every wire, every circuit board, and every cooling fan by name. I was the silent guardian of his reputation, but to Marcus, I was just the grease monkey in the basement. He would parade wealthy donors through my labs, talking about innovation and cutting-edge technology, while ignoring my requests for basic safety upgrades. The tension between us wasn't just professional, it was a fundamental clash of values. I believed in the sanctity of the machine, he believed in the profit margin of the miracle. Every time I tried to warn him that the cooling systems on the main MRI grid were being pushed past their legal limits to accommodate VIP overflow, he would dismiss me with a wave of his manicured hand. "Make it work or I'll find someone who can," he would snap, his voice a polished blade of corporate indifference. I realized then that in the American healthcare machine, the people who keep the heart beating are the first ones to be sacrificed when the shareholders demand a faster pulse. I was a ghost in the machine, watching the ego of a man who thought he was a god while he was really just a passenger on a ship I was desperately trying to keep from sinking into the dark. The inevitable collapse happened on the hottest July afternoon in the history of the city. The hospital's power grid was screaming under the weight of the heat wave, and the VIP wing was full of the city's most influential donors. I stood in Marcus's office, the air conditioning humming a low, expensive tune, and presented him with a red-stamped report. "The magnetic cooling system is failing," I said, my voice steady despite the adrenaline. "If we don't shut down the north grid and divert the patients now, we're looking at a catastrophic quench. The liquid helium will vent, and the machines will be destroyed." Marcus didn't even look up from his gold-leaf desk. Instead, he laughed, a dry, rattling sound that made my skin crawl. "We have a gala tonight, and the mayor's wife is scheduled for a scan in 20 minutes. You are going to go back downstairs, you are going to override the safety sensors, and you are going to keep that grid hot. I don't pay you to be a prophet of doom, I pay you to keep the lights on." When I refused, citing federal safety regulations and the literal lives of the people in those tubes, Marcus's face turned a shade of crimson that matched his mahogany furniture. He stood up, towering over me with the practiced intimidation of a man who had never been told no. He didn't just fire me, he attempted to erase my career with a level of cruelty that felt personal. "You're done. Not just here but in every hospital in this state. I'll make sure your license is flagged for insubordination. You're a small man with a small mind, and you think you can hold me hostage with your sensors? Security will escort you out. Leave your keys, your badges, and your self-respect on the way out. You're trash and I'm the one taking you to the curb." As the security guards gripped my arms, I felt a strange sense of peace. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the one thing Marcus didn't realize was keeping his world together: the master calibration key. It was a digital handshake device required to reset the safety overrides every 6 hours. Without it, the entire system would go into an automatic hard lock. He snatched the small silver drive from my hand, thinking he had won. "I don't need you for this," he sneered. "Any intern can plug this in." He didn't know that the drive was encrypted to my biometric signature, and in his haste to humiliate me, he had bypassed the legal handoff protocol. I was walked out into the blistering city heat, a man with nothing left to lose and a front row seat to the most expensive fireworks show in the history of medicine. 3 hours later, I was sitting in a park across from the hospital, eating a $3 hot dog and watching the chaos unfold. The siren started first, low rhythmic wails that signaled the code red, internal emergency. Then came the vibration, a deep sub-bass hum that shook the ground as the MRI magnets began to lose their cooling. My phone began to scream in my pocket. It was the hospital's emergency line. I ignored it. Then came the private cell. It was Marcus. I let it ring until the sun began to dip behind the skyscrapers, casting long, dark shadows over the city. When I finally answered, the man on the other end was gone. In his place was a sobbing, panicked wreck. "The grid is locked. The technicians can't bypass the encryption. The cooling is at critical. We're going to lose $40 million in equipment, and the donors are being evacuated. I need you here now. I'll give you a raise, a promotion, whatever you want." I leaned back on the park bench, watching a group of kids play in the fountain, the sound of their laughter a sharp contrast to the terror in Marcus's voice. "I'm sorry, Marcus," I said, my voice echoing the coldness he had shown me. "But as you pointed out, I'm trash. And since you had security flag my credentials as a security threat, I am legally barred from entering the facility or accessing the server. In fact, if I were to help you now, I'd be violating the very insurance protocols you drafted to protect your bonus. I'm just staying at the curb, as you suggested." The sound of the magnet quenching, a massive high-pitched hiss of escaping gas, could be heard even from the park. It was the sound of $40 million evaporating into the atmosphere. The deal of the century was over. The donors fled, the lawsuits poured in, and the board of directors didn't just fire Marcus. They sued him into the Stone Age for gross negligence and the loss of the hospital's accreditation. I didn't have to say a word to the press. The logs showed I warned him. The logs showed he ignored me. I walked away into the cooling evening air, the weight of the basement finally lifted from my shoulders. Marcus Sterling was still sitting in his glass tower, but the heart of his empire had stopped beating, and for the first time in 7 years, I was the one breathing easy. He had the title, but I had the power, and in the end, the machine always knows who its true master is. He was finally alone in his silent, broken kingdom.